Comedians from the World Series of Comedy, Part 3. That's what's coming up on the Art of Bombing, episode 170.
My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, 'cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing.
Welcome to a brand new episode of The Art of Bombing. Dan Bublich Jr. here with you as we continue the World Series of Comedy Week on the podcast. Today my guest is Geoffrey Eggleston. He is a comedian based in Los Angeles, but he grew up in South Dakota. He actually grew up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and our paths have crossed a couple times, but I really didn't know him until we've been hanging out a little bit here at the Comedy Festival, and I was able to have him come do the podcast, and we had a great conversation. So that's what's going to be coming up today. Real quick before we get to that, there's a new Art of Bombing artwork out there. We've got some shirts and all, you can get masks and all kinds of cool swag for the Art of Bombing now. You should definitely go check that out. Go to our Art of Bombing Facebook page. You can find all our social media platforms and ways to buy that merch from artofbombingpod.com. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and maybe a nice review. And that's all I'm going to do for promo. Let's get into this conversation with Geoffrey. Enjoy.
It's now time for the stand-up soundbite.
All right, this is a song called Quarantine Dreams.
Didn't even put on pants today. I had important video games to play. Tom Nook's not gonna pay himself, and a princess needs my help. Please don't end quarantine, you are the only friend I need. Don't make me pretend that I like the phony people that I meet. I work from home now, I'm all alone now, haven't showered in a week. Please don't end, please don't take away my quarantine dreams. Whoa! Quarantine, you are the only friend I need. Don't make me pretend that I like the phony people that I meet. I bought a gun, so American. Can't wait to shoot somebody. Please don't end, please don't take away my guns. Whoa! Please don't end. Please tell me that things are way worse than they seem. Please don't end. Please don't take away my quarantine dreams.
Thanks.
Go ahead and hit that record.
Hell yeah, dude.
Going. Yeah, how have you enjoyed the festival so far? You got eliminated.
Yes.
But
I don't know why you had to bring that up immediately. I don't know why that's the foot we're starting off on. You could have said, hey, it's my friend Jeff.
Hold your mic a little further away.
Oh, okay.
Or talk softer.
I got a loud mouth.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, yeah. I didn't advance. I'm too loud. Do you want me to leave? I can leave, dude.
This isn't the Art of Bombing. This is the roast of Geoffrey.
Dude,
no, but what I was trying to go with that is that
even though you got eliminated, they were giving out extra spots, so you got to do another show. So you've got to do multiple shows on the festival already.
Dude, I had a much better set that second one too. And I'm glad I stuck around, man. I did this a few years ago, and the mistake I made was it was the same thing. I got eliminated right away, but I couldn't stick around. Mm-hmm. And even just from staying one extra day, I've gotten so much more out of it.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm here for the week, man.
Yeah,
just to hang out. I get to do this podcast now. It's sick.
Yeah, no, it's great. I actually, I planned on staying for the whole week, but I was debating whether or not I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can just go in, and then if I get eliminated, come back right away, not spend a ton of money. And I was like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to make a trip out of it.
Yeah.
And I've only went to one seminar so far, but the one that I went to, I was like, well, this was worth coming to.
Yeah, right.
It was very informative.
For the fee, like some of my friends who hate festivals, I was just on the phone with them before this. And they were like, oh, yeah, how's that? I was like, actually, for the fee, like, you get in and then you have access to all these bookers and people and seminars. It's like, that makes it worth it, even if you don't even make it into the contest. Because you can still get time. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's worth it. And this is sponsored by the World Series of Comedy, right?
Well, kind of. I mean, this is World Series of Comedy Week on the podcast.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
releasing,
sick.
so that's the whole theme. I'm releasing. Typically, I release the podcast once a week, but I'm releasing as many episodes as I can this week that are all centered around the World Series of Comedy.
Yeah,
So,
have you done this before?
a whole week of podcasting or the World Series of Comedy?
Both. Let's say both.
I've definitely went to comedy festivals and recorded a bunch of episodes. I didn't release them during the festival like I'm doing with this one.
Mm-hmm.
I just put them in my reserve because I like to have a reserve. But I found that when I do that, I end up with such a long reserve, and when you're only releasing the podcast once a week, that some of the conversations end up getting to where they're outdated.
Yeah,
they're a little
totally makes
outdated.
sense.
Yeah, and they don't. So
because you're talking about like, I hope Trump doesn't win again, and then like it comes out after the election.
Yeah, it's like 6 months down the road or whatever.
Exactly.
Like I got to the point, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, I didn't really have a lot going on, so I was like, well, I'll just record my podcast a bunch, and I had so many episodes recorded and in the reserve. I for a while I started releasing them twice a week.
Dude, that's
just
awesome.
Because
though.
I was like, I got too much content, and the longer
that's
I wait,
not a common complaint. Oh, I just have so much content.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm just producing so much.
Well, I didn't say it was good content necessarily. It's content. That doesn't mean it's quality content.
Gotcha.
But because it was my podcast, it was quality content.
And you can count on that.
That's right. So this is the first time I'm trying to like release it throughout the whole week.
Okay, cool.
So to do like a whole
You're doing
theme.
like a podcast festival.
Essentially, yeah. I'm doing my own podcast festival.
Brought to you by Dan Bublitz Jr.
At the World Series of Comedy.
World Series of Comedy, Podcast Week, Podcast Festival.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's got a world, though. WSOC PWP F.
We'll figure out what all those letters stand for later.
Yeah. Because I do not remember what I just said.
It was a lot of letters.
We'll have to play back. We'll have to listen to the podcast. We'll have to play it back.
Figure it out. Yeah. So it's been a great experience so far. I think
That's cool, man.
I definitely thought it. It's definitely been worth coming out here.
Yeah.
But as far as like doing the World Series of Comedy, I have entered and I have got in. And then I did not come, but not because I was like, I don't want to do it. It was, last year I got into the main event, but my grandmother had passed away a week or so before the festival, so I had family things that I had to do, so I didn't go. And then when I first started doing comedy, I got into a satellite, but
Which one?
It was in Des Moines.
Oh,
and
okay.
This is like I think either their first or second year as a festival. I think it was their second year. So that's how long ago it was, because this is like their 11th year.
Yeah, okay.
So it was in Des Moines, and when I applied for it, I was still living in South Dakota. And then opportunity came or whatever. I ended up moving to California. And then when I got out to California, I just didn't have, because I spent all my money moving and, whatever, I just didn't have the funds to buy a plane ticket, pay for, rent a car,
Yeah, I mean
hotel,
that's
like,
the
it
kicker,
just
right?
too
Like having to
spendy.
spend a week in Vegas. Like even if you're at a cheap hotel, everything is
Yeah,
expensive. And I live in LA. Like
Yeah. I mean, technically, if you wanted, you could drive back and forth.
I guess, dude.
But that would be a lot
I
of
thought
driving.
about it,
oh
but
my god, that would be so
the
brutal.
drive wasn't bad, but it can be bad. It's like 4 hours, but one time I was going back and it took me 7.
Oh, jeez, yeah. If you hit any bit of traffic,
I mean,
it's-
it was like, I don't know, it was like a dust storm or it was like some crazy like desert weather event. And
my
we
God.
were stuck, and so we like stopped at this like those outlet malls like right on the border, like they're called Terribles, and that should be a sign that you shouldn't go. But we were just so sick of sitting in the traffic that we went into this this like outlet mall, dude, and it looks like the Strat Hotel. It looked like the Strat Hotel looks like now.
Oh,
Like-
really?
Like everything was already closed, like, and this was way before the pandemic. So I can't imagine what it must look like now.
yeah.
Like after even more shit is shut down, because dude, it was like seriously like a barren
It's
casino
like, it
floor.
already looked desolate.
It was bad. It was like an Old Navy outlet store on one end, and then a big like horseshoe shape of just closed, like empty mall spaces, and then like a Gap. You know, it was
Oh, man.
sad, dude.
That does sound sad.
Yeah, it was terrible, terrible at terribles.
Yeah, I've definitely. It's an interesting drive. It can be. I mean, it can go quick and it can take forever. Because I used to live in San Diego, so
Right.
I drove to Vegas a couple times, whatever. But I used to drive back and forth to South Dakota to San Diego. a
Which
lot
route would you
sometimes.
take?
Well, a lot of times, depending on, A lot of
Depending on
times
the
I would
season,
go.
I guess, yeah.
A lot of it was depending on season, but a lot of times I would just go through Colorado and then through Utah,
Dude,
through Vegas. I would
what-
go through Vegas and
What
stuff like that.
I did that my drive home, because I went home when the pandemic first happened. I went home for like 4 months, and then I went down through like Texas and then up through Arkansas, because that's where I started comedy. So I like lined up a
Yeah.
few things, oddly enough. But then when I came back, I went through Utah for the first time, and that knocked my socks off. I had to stop stopping. Like I kept stopping. Like I got over the border into Utah, and immediately it was just like, holy shit. And I pulled off, and there was this mountain that they mined uranium on, and that's the first thing you see.
Yep.
And then I kept stopping, and going to these like scenic
All the-
overlooks,
yeah,
and then I was like, I have to like get home. Like I
I
can't.
can't be doing
I
this
can't keep
forever.
taking these pictures, dude.
That's how I felt. I went to Montana in last July for my cousin's wedding, and I drove out there. And that was once I got out of North Dakota and into Montana. It was like everywhere we stopped. It was like, oh, we got to stop and take a picture. We got to stop. Just like the scenery was so beautiful. And there's like, I got pictures that look like they're paintings. That's how beautiful it is.
Yeah, dude.
It's just like, wow, this is
Yeah.
magical.
And then you get to fucking Nebraska, and it's like all over. Oh, you were having a good time on this drive? That's over. There's no main highway that can get you through this state.
Hope
You're
you
gonna be
like
driving on back roads.
corn.
Hope you like corn and soy, bitch.
Yep. Yeah, one year when I was driving, this was after I had moved back to South Dakota, but I was still helping with the San Diego Comedy Festival, and so I was
Yeah.
driving out for that. Because a lot of times I would drive instead of fly out there, because then I had access to my car, and I could do, it's just more convenient to have a car and not have to rent
Yeah,
it or
it's
whatever.
like worth the 30-hour drive.
Yeah, it really
to
is,
have your
just
car.
to have the convenience of it. Yeah, but I ended up hitting all seasons of weather possible in the drive.
Wow.
Like,
What time of year is this?
it would have been, was it? I'm trying to remember if we had moved it, because the festival used to be in January, and then it got moved to like May. But I think this would have been when it was in May, so it would have been
Right.
May.
So like you
So
hit the mountains, and they're still kind of.
Well, actually, I hit
messing
a
around.
snowstorm in southern Nebraska.
What the hell?
So it started, weather was fine, and then suddenly
Nebraska's the worst state.
So
officially, dude.
I hit rain, then that turned into like snow, like so bad that it wasn't like a lot of snow, but the way it was coming down, it just made visibility really hard. You couldn't see past the hood of your car situation. So I ended up having to stop and get a hotel in North Platte.
Yeah.
Then the next day, it wasn't snowing or whatever. Then you got back into Colorado, and then you could get into Colorado, and then the roads were, snow was starting to go away, whatever, getting back to like normal, whatever.
Yeah.
normal for that time of year. Then you get in the mountains, then it's like thunderstorming, and it's freaking you got thunderstorms and rain and snow and ice and mountains, and then get through and then you got Utah and it's dark, and I ended up.
But that's that South Dakota, like, you get that power, like, growing up in a horrible weather place. Like, you can drive in anything.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, when I lived in Arkansas, it would snow maybe like 2 or 3 inches, and the whole city would shut down, everything would close, and it would be melted by noon.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, what are we doing? I used to drive to school in blizzards. I got in 2 accidents in one morning on my way to school once, like, just sliding on ice, what are we doing here? But they don't have the snow plows or whatever. I don't know. I think they're just lazy.
Yeah. Well, and they're probably not accustomed to getting that kind of weather.
Yeah, it's probably for the best that we're not out on the roads with the people like that.
Yeah, probably. It's probably better that they can't go drive.
Yeah, dude.
It'd be probably a lot more accidents if they didn't shut down.
Right. You're right. It is for the greater good. I take it back. Arkansas, you're all right.
You're being smart by not going out when it snows. You
true.
get 3 inches of snow and you stay home. That's wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then I think it was Nevada, like getting out of Utah or like Arizona, Nevada, that little area. I don't know. But
yeah, you're in it for like 3 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then it started raining again to the point where I had to pull off for a little bit at a truck stop, and then it quit raining, and then I kept going.
Is this all in one day?
This is all in one day. So
this
was
God. So you were driving all the way through Utah, huh? Like that whole way?
So this was so the first day when I hit the snow, that was going from South Dakota, and I'm one of these people when I drive places, I try to get as far as I possibly can. Yeah. In one day. Like, I will drive and drive and drive.
Do like
I
a 12-hour day.
12, 13 hour, whatever I can do until I cannot stay awake or I don't feel safe driving.
Until I am dead.
Until I'm dead in a ditch.
Until my car is upside down, I will not stop driving.
And I'm going to go all the way.
I'm a comic, goddammit. I will be on the road.
Yeah, exactly. Unless I can't because of weather.
Yeah.
And that's so. Yeah. So I think I was in North Platte, and that was not where I wanted to be. Like I hadn't been driving that. I'd only been on the road for like 6 hours. Yeah. So that was like way early in the trip, but I had to pull over. So then the next day I was like, wow, I got to make up for lost time. Yeah. And then I hit all that weather, but I kept plowing through, and then finally, I don't know, it probably 3-4 in the morning, I got to Primm, Nevada, which is just on the other side of Las Vegas, and I was like, I can't keep going now. I'm too.
Oh, so you stayed at one of those weird hotels or something?
Well,
like,
no, this is how much of a road comic I am. No, I did not stay in one of them weird hotel casinos. I slept in my car in their parking lot.
Hell yeah, dude. Fist bump, dude.
It's like I was already mad that I had to pay for a hotel in Nebraska that wasn't part of my budget or my trip. So I was like, now I'm in warm weather. I'm going to just sleep in my car.
In the desert.
So I slept in my car, got like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, got up, cleaned up a little bit, jumped in my car, and finished the trip to San Diego. Was in there, early afternoon, late morning, early afternoon. But so that last chunk of the drive was pretty quick. But it was an intense drive with all the different weather.
Jeez, dude.
Probably one of the most intense trips.
Yeah,
driving anywhere.
I drove all the way up to a gig in Medford, Oregon. This is actually the drive to my like good set story. If we're gonna segue, but I drove all the way up, and like it's like really, really nice, and then you drive up into the mountains, and it suddenly like starts snowing, and it's foggy, and then you're going around the rim of a volcano.
Oh, geez.
And like rain is like coming and going, and the road is just super windy, and I'm like, this far from my steering wheel. Like, that was probably the most stressful drive I made, dude. It was the same kind of thing where it was just changing so rapidly because of the elevation.
That's weird. Especially going through when you go through Colorado and go through the mountains. It really gets intense like that because you got all the winds and turns and narrow roads and ice and that's so intense, so stressful.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's although like I said, it's even though these drives can be stressful, it's
always worth it having your own car and not
Yeah.
being stuck.
Yes, dude. I'll put chains on my tires, dude. If I got it, I'll do it.
That's right. Got to just keep on plowing. Keep on plowing through.
Yeah.
That's one of the pros of growing up where we grew up.
Yeah, dude. It made us strong and hardy. And then I moved to Los Angeles, and it gets to 60 degrees, and I am shivering, dude.
I remember the first time I went back to South Dakota after living in California, and I went back in December, and I stepped off the plane onto the tarmac, and I was like, "Oh my God, what the?" I was like, "Yeah, I've turned into a pansy when it comes to weather."
Yeah, I made the mistake. The first time I went back, I didn't wear my coat onto the plane, and I was shaking the second we landed. And so the next time I went, I flew back. It was probably 75 degrees in L.A. when I left. But I had like this huge coat, like a coat that you can't buy in California.
Yeah.
Like this is a coat that you find in South Dakota, you know. And I'm wearing that. And I was getting weird looks, dude. But I was like, nah, you guys aren't going to be looking at me like that when we land.
Yeah, when we get to where
You're
we're
gonna
going,
be
you're
jealous.
going to be very
You have
sad.
shorts on, dude.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
are 3 feet of snow. The snow is going to be up to your shorts.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, you're going to be wishing you had long shorts.
Exactly, dude. Some long johns, some snow pants. Go out
Yep.
for the field day, or
That's
recess,
right.
dude.
Get them warm. Get them warm.
Yeah.
So we'll transition to the bombing part of this.
Hell yeah.
I want to hear your story about bombing.
Okay, well, I kind of have 2. One is really short. It was the last time I was at the World Series of Comedy. So I got up. It was in 2017. I was in the wild card round, and I don't know what came over me, dude. So I wrote this little, stupid joke and went up. I was like, wow, the World Series of Comedy. If you had told me I was going to be here 2 years ago, I would have believed you because I'm really funny. I got a huge laugh. And then I was like, and now I'll proceed to bomb. Another huge laugh, but the problem was that I actually did proceed to bomb. So I don't know why, dude. I went into this new joke. I did this new joke that was trash, and I just lost them, dude. And so I'm starting to shake, just losing it. I still have this tape. It's hard to watch. I'm shaking, and then I'm shaking now thinking about it.
And he's not lying.
Yeah, dude.
You can't see him because this is an audio podcast, but he's literally shaking.
Yeah, dude. Oh, wow. Because I haven't relived this moment in a while, dude. I'm having a bad flashback. But so I start shaking. I barely get through this new joke, and I'm like, why did I do that? And so I try to go into good material, and they just weren't having it. And then I missed the light. I couldn't see the light.
No.
And so I'm going, and I'm like, oh, that feels like 5 minutes, but I can't. I'm looking around, dude. You can see it in the tape. Looking for the light, and I can't see it. And then eventually I hear Joe in the back say, all right, go get him. Go get him. I heard it from the back. I was like, oh, okay, so the light's been on for a while. And I was like, thanks. And, yeah, it was bad, dude.
Oh,
it was
my
bad.
God, that's wow.
It was bad, dude.
I'm surprised after that they let you back in.
Oh, dude, no, I think they just forgot about me. I gave it some time, dude. I can come back for 3 years.
You're like, okay, that's
yeah.
Let that not happen again.
Oh, man.
What satellite was it?
No, this was at the main
it was the
event.
main event.
This was the main event, dude.
Oh, my God.
I fucking
Oh,
blew
my
it
God.
at the main event. Yeah, I
That's
got in
brutal.
through the Little Rock satellite.
Oh,
They did
okay.
one at the Looney Bin, and that went super well. You
Yeah.
know, so I was coming in with a lot of confidence, enough confidence to say I'm gonna bomb, and then and then do new material.
That's
funny.
it
To
would have
ensure
been
it.
funny if it and granted, it's sometimes it's great that you can think of things in hindsight and after it happened of I should have did this and
Yeah.
that would have maybe been funny, but it would have been funny to start acknowledging that you're bombing
Yeah.
to make it so you make it part of the bit, so it's
Yeah.
almost like a Kaufman thing where it's
Yeah.
you're like, I'm funny. You do that, you get your 2 laughs about bombing, then you start bombing, and then you're like, see, I wasn't lying.
Yeah, yeah.
I told you
Oh,
guys,
see,
this
and
is
I
what
was
was
so-
going to happen. You
I
know
was
what
still really green too, so I think I was only a year and a half in, maybe 2 years max. So I just hadn't had enough experience to handle a bomb like that. You know,
Yeah.
now I could probably pick it back up. You know, but
Yep.
like you said, acknowledging it. But I just totally freaked out during the headlights because I had all my set so mapped out, and there was no room for anything to go wrong.
No room
you know?
for error.
It was
yeah.
before I figured any of that stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think about that. I was telling you that I got into that satellite when they first started, and I ended up not going ultimately. But I don't think I would have did well anyway. Like, I was too new. Like, that was another reason I didn't go. I was like, spend all that money to go and probably not do well. And then that's the stench, then my name comes up and they're like, oh yeah, that's that comic that bombed real hard or whatever.
Dude, and I was worried about that, but I think like I gave it enough time, and then when I came back this year, I was greeted very, with a lot of, they remembered me, and it was like in a positive way.
Yeah,
like,
which is great.
So I think like, if you give it enough time, I think people will forgive it, right?
Yeah,
like,
you gotta let
yourself,
it air out.
Oh, and they'd seen my new video too, so it was like,
Yeah.
oh, he's clearly gotten better.
Yeah.
At least that's what I hope they thought.
Well,
yeah.
obviously, if you got in again,
Yeah.
I mean, they're not gonna. A festival like this isn't going to let somebody back in if they bombed really hard and then they don't look like they've improved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you look at the comedians that are in the top 101, and there's some of the strongest comics in the country,
Right.
and that's, they're not going to let you back in. So that definitely, you can definitely say, yeah, I've definitely improved since the last time I was here.
Oh, definitely, man.
Yeah.
And like just being here and I don't know, just being more confident and knowing more about comedy, I feel like I'm able to utilize the resources that they're giving me a lot better too.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, it's like I just didn't really understand what this was for. So I was only here for a day. But yeah, it's already it's already better this year.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Like I said, I was coming out with my mindset is the contest part of it is there, but that's not my primary focus.
Right.
And I didn't know what to expect with everything else anyway, but I was like, I'm going to come and do it, and I've had a good time learning some stuff. The networking's been great. So ultimately, it's definitely they're definitely doing a good thing with how and you can because I talked to other comics too about it before, because I'm always weary because some festivals, most festivals have submission fees, but some are more expensive than others, and this is one of the festivals that has compared to most festivals, it's one of the higher cost ones.
But they're giving you more.
No,
sponsored by the World Series of Comedy. They're giving you so much more for more value for your money.
No,
that is real though.
Yeah, and they absolutely are. They absolutely are. That's not going to discount that at all.
Yeah,
they really are. But you don't. But when you're a comic and you work the road or whatever, like money, you got to be very careful where you put your money. So what festivals you apply to, this and that. So
this is like a big investment,
It is, and that's exactly how I looked at it when I decided to do it. I did my submission, whatever, got in, and then I was like, do I want to go? You know what? I'm not currently committed to a regular job. I've got free time.
Why is that?
I don't know. What's going on in the world right now?
Oh, I don't know.
But
what month is it? It's May, right?
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? This is gonna be an investment into my career. That's how I looked at it. I'm gonna go for the whole week, do some networking, take in some of the seminars, get everything I can out of the festival. So, and in that respect, it's been good. So I've had a good time. Now you said that you talked about bombing at the World Series of Comedy, and you said there was another one.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know if this one will be as good after reliving my fucking trauma.
Yeah,
that last one, I was actually shaking, dude. So maybe this one is the shorter one, but this was like the first time I ever featured. A buddy of mine in Little Rock brought me on the road to this like one-nighter at a country club, and I think it was Pocahontas, Arkansas, like way out in the middle of nowhere, dude. And so he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna do 25." I was like, "Okay, cool." And this is also very, very green. And so like I go up there, and it's going okay, but then I start to realize like how long 25 minutes really is. To be in front of people, and I like totally lost them, and I like started apologizing, and I don't know why I didn't just like get off stage, but I like did the whole time and totally like ruined the show.
Oh wow.
It was bad. And so he had to go up and do his 45 to like a dead crowd. Like I killed them. And at the end of the night,
And not in the good way.
Yeah. Oh no. It was like mass murder, bad. And so I'm like, on like this dejected ride home. He like paid me for the gig, and it just felt so wrong, like dirty to like get money for that. But it ended up being, I think what he was doing was like showing me like, here's where you think you're at, and here's what it actually means to like be able to do this.
Yep.
So it ended up being, not like he was putting me in my place, but it was like,
He was helping. He was giving
yeah,
you
he
a
really
lesson.
helped me. Yeah, and it was like a no, like there was no pressure for this gig. It wasn't going to matter, in a day. So it was like the perfect way to like kind of throw me into the fire and really show me.
Yep.
So that was like the most educational bomb I've ever had.
Yeah. Oh, and that's kind of how I try to look at bombing now. Is you got to take the lessons from it and learn from them, turning them into learning experiences.
Yeah.
And working the road like that, especially in places like that, you get some hard lessons.
Yeah,
but
dude.
They'll make you ultimately a stronger comic.
Yeah.
At least you.
So shout out to Jason Thompson for that lesson, dude. You're the man.
Right on. When you bomb, what do you try to? Excuse me. How do you try to like analyze or figure out what went wrong and to try to?
I don't know,
improve?
dude. Sometimes I just ask them, what happened.
The crowd.
Yeah, I
like,
just ask the crowd
as it's going.
Yeah, like
Or do you
what happened?
Or do you sit outside doing like market research as they come out and be like, "Hey, I saw you were in the audience and you weren't laughing, and I know I wasn't very good, but
I push my glasses up, on the bridge of my nose. And,
like, so can you tell me?
Could you, fill out this form, this Google form? I'll send you the link.
I'm taking surveys to.
Yeah. Here's an iPad. Just I've got a few. If you could just pass them around. No, I'll ask them. Or my act has really changed a lot. Now I do music.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it'll be like, what kind of song do you want to hear? Like, and usually I have something that I can play.
What kind of music do you do? As far as like,
I would call it funny rock and roll.
okay.
Yeah. So like pretty basic like chord
But
structures.
is it? Do you do like parodies?
Oh,
or do you do your own? It's all original.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do original music.
Okay.
So I try to like do like a good like genre song, like try to like capture like a type of song, and make it good, but also really funny. So in that way, I kind of have a lot like some different tricks than a lot of comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can say, what kind of song do you want to hear, and like play them the blues or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess that's really just my strategy. Be like, what's up, guys? Like, what can I do? What can I do better, dude? Like,
let me know right now.
But like you were saying earlier, like the most important thing I think is just to acknowledge it. It's like, well, that didn't work. It's like, oh, you guys didn't like that one. Like moving on. I think that's the most important thing is like not to get like trapped in.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh,
And trapped
I'm
in
doing
the bomb.
bad, and
Yeah.
like go like the mistake I think is to like go inside, go internal. Like, what am I doing wrong? And it's like as easy as saying like that didn't work to the crowd, because if you acknowledge it, then I think that honesty helps keep you on the same page.
Oh, absolutely.
But
I
when
totally
you're watching
agree.
a guy on sstage like bombing, and he's not acknowledging it, he's like he's still acting like he's like crushing
Trying
it.
to do his
the
act, yeah.
audience could tell. Oh, it's not honest. It's like this is a liar. Like
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like honesty is the best policy.
Yeah,
That's what I would do.
True story. I've definitely had those experiences where, like when I first started, if I was bombing, I'd get inside my head, and then as you start overthinking, and then it's like you're digging your grave deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah,
But,
dude.
When you get to that point where you can just be like, well, that joke didn't work, and just whatever.
I have some friends who I like to watch them bomb because they're so good at it.
I think deep down inside, we all like watching our peers bomb.
Yeah, because I will be so much better. No, not in like a resentful way, but I like seriously, like there's some guys who can just bomb like so well, and they just keep picking it right back up, dude. And it's, educational. I try to learn something from a bomb, whether it's me or someone else.
Absolutely. The bumming of bombing, the dreadful feeling you get after you bomb, how long does that typically last for you, and has it changed over the years? Obviously it can last 2 or 3 years, because we saw you relive that trauma a few minutes ago.
No, the problem with that was that I buried it. I buried it deep down.
Tried to forget that one.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing some deep psychotherapy on this podcast.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, I don't know. I try not to let it stick with me too bad, you know, like it lasts maybe a couple days, usually until the next good set, I'd say, you know. But it can also be depending, like, if it's a string of bombs, if I'm having, like, a bad week, or if I just had a great set and then I immediately have a bad one, or maybe I've got an important set, you know. I guess it's different. But generally, I really don't dwell on them for very long. I just kind of, you know, say, you know, what went wrong, you know, what can I do better. Other than that one I just relived, they don't really stick with me.
that was the one that the traumatizing one. And
yeah,
of course,
yeah.
That's the one we
honestly,
had to talk
dude,
about.
this has been really good for me. Coming on here and talking about that has been really good.
Well, you definitely. I mean, it's definitely redemption when you think about it. You've been able to redeem yourself. You bombed a few years ago at the festival.
Yeah.
A few years later, you're here. You got a couple shows. You're doing well.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. So that's it's definitely coming around. So that's good.
Yeah.
So
dude.
why not be reliving that one?
It's thematic, dude. It's appropriate. It's very poetic.
Yes, exactly. That's great. Now, what do you do these out of order? We already talked about how you analyze the sets, didn't we?
I think so.
I think we did.
Yeah.
I did my questions backwards. I usually have an order that I do them. And
We've slept probably about 5 hours in the past few days, guys. So forgive us for if we're repeating ourselves or forgetting things.
Yes, this is a true story. I've very little sleep.
Yeah.
Being up and around and like
I saw Dan. We set this up at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yes,
last night.
Morning. This morning, not last night. This morning.
Yeah,
3:30 this morning, and it's like noon now.
Yeah.
So that's how long we've been up. And this is like my seventh or eighth one that I've recorded this week. So,
dude,
it's
gonna
like
be great.
Oh yeah, it's great. But I'm like, I can feel where I'm like, did I do bombing with my questions?
Dude. Yeah, dude, we're starting to bomb on the podcast. Oh no. Dude.
Oh, shit.
It's not supposed to happen on the podcast.
It's supposed to be what the topic is. Do you have a pre-show tradition or ritual? I mean, obviously, being a musician, you've got to get
so I
like
tune up, I warm up, and for longer sets, I like to like do some push-ups and like because I come from like a theater background, so I'm really like conscious of like my body and like making sure my body like I'm like very aware of my body. So I like to do some like push-ups and just to get some blood flowing. But I don't like have like any sort of like superstition or anything like that. Like a rock I got to rub before I go out on stage. Nothing like that. Yeah.
Magic little stones.
I swear, there's no rock, okay? Quit asking about the rock.
Rubbing your stones together. Doing magic spells.
Casting a spell.
Wizard over here. Hocus pocus. Comedy tocus. All gonna laugh at me.
Yeah, dude. I wish I could cast a spell, dude. Then I wouldn't have these bombing stories.
We all wish we didn't have bombing stories. But then we wouldn't have great conversations like this.
It's true.
And if we just did good sets all the time, it wouldn't be as fun to talk about.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be very good, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Pretty
either.
blasé.
Yeah,
comedy.
That's for sure. I would agree with that. Now, you earlier we were talking about driving places and stuff, and you were talking about driving to Oregon, which you said was your best gig. So tell us about that.
Well, I was going up to feature for this guy, and I'd never met him, but when I got booked for the gig, the guy told me, I'm still waiting on so-and-so to headline. I'm not going to talk about him favorably, so I'm not going to say his name, but I'm still waiting on so-and-so to headline. And like I was supposed to know who this guy was, as though it was like a big deal. So I like looked him up, and I was like, oh no. And so I get to the gig, and he's slated to do 45. And I was like, and I just kind of knew that wasn't going to happen. So I was like, kind of like the show was like on me, and that kind of got me going. I was like, I should be headlining this show. Like, I like this guy, he's, not going to be able to do it. And so I went out there and I did like half an hour of just like crushing, dude. I was getting every song. Like I had all these applause breaks. Like, they were super responsive. Like, I was just like in the zone more than I think I've ever been, because I was just so jazzed on, like, I was like, I will be the best act on this show. You know, I was like determined. And so after I go up, this other guy goes up, and he lasts maybe 10 minutes, dude, before, and we're in the back, and the booker goes, oh, this might have been a mistake. and he's like, yeah, if he doesn't get him back, I'm going to have to light him. This headliner who they've like flown out. He's like, it was that bad.
Wow.
And he's like, I'm going to have to go light him and maybe put up like a local guy at the end to save the show. And we're like in the theater, like it's a really nice venue. Like these people have spent a bunch of money to come to the show. And I leveled it, dude. I did really well. And then he goes out there and just starts nothing.
Well,
and
part of that, though, not saying you weren't good. I mean, sure you were good, but what I was going to say...
there's more to the story, too.
Oh, well, I was just going to interject this thought, is that as a producer and putting a show together as a booker, musical acts are hard to follow.
Yeah.
That's why I think a lot of comics don't like musical acts, because they're like, it's hard to follow them, because people will have a good time listening to music and whatever. Some people will say it's just a cheap way to get laughs or whatever.
Yeah.
There's
sometimes it is. It definitely is sometimes.
But there's definitely a lot of negative thoughs from comics about that genre of comedy or whatever.
Yeah. I didn't get that from this guy at all. He was pretty chill.
My point, though, is even if they like you or not, musical acts are tough to follow.
Right.
Because it brings the energy up.
Dan, this guy, it had nothing to do with my act. I don't mean to come on your podcast and like talk shit or whatever.
Well, no, I'm not. No,
but it was.
I mean, it has parts to do
you're
with
a headliner, you're booked as the headliner.
Well, exactly.
And so after the show, I got an email from this lady saying, you were so great. I wish we could have met you, but as soon as that guy, we had to leave after he was up. And I heard back from so many people. It was like the first time that people went to my website and reached out. That lady, a few other people to tell me that it was great. Mm-hmm. And so it totally amped me up, dude. That was a couple months before the pandemic broke out, and it really I don't know. That was the best I've ever felt about a show. It was the only time people have ever reached out.
Yeah.
And I feel like I made fans. So
that's awesome.
It was so cool.
That's
dude.
great.
Yeah. It
I
was
just think
amazing.
As a producer or a booker, they should have been thinking about that.
Yeah,
too.
I don't think this guy was really watching the videos.
That was the other thing I was going to say.
The first people who got to him.
That's the other thing I was wondering. Is how do you not know if you're flying in a headliner, and you're going through all that to bring somebody out there, aren't you going to because that's an investment. Yeah. So it's aren't you going to know for sure? You can't just, if you don't know them and haven't seen them prior or worked with them, you have to watch their stuff and
Yeah, I think he might have even said oh, I should have watched this guy's video.
And seeing that does not surprise me. That's where I'm I mean, anybody can say they're a headliner and have some credits or whatever. And a lot of times in comedy, credits are lies. Yeah. People make that shit up. Yeah. And sometimes, and you got to be careful making credits up because that can be fact checked. Yeah. People can go Google and do searches on IMDb.com and things like that and actually fact check. A lot of them aren't going
Some people are able to finagle their one weird podcast appearance into something more than it's not,
Yeah, oh absolutely.
Yeah. And it was a small town, kind of just starting. I think they were kind of experimenting with this comedy. Mm-hmm. So it was it was really fun. The next day, the theater posted on Facebook, and they just posted a picture of me.
Oh,
it was
wow.
I was okay, so that did go as well as I thought.
It's
was
not just
that
me.
was good. Yeah.
Did they end up lighting him and?
Oh yeah, they lit him
and put somebody else.
Yeah,
up?
They put up a local.
Was that local able to bring the show back?
Yeah, because he had material.
Oh
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, what a weird show.
That is weird.
But it was the best set I'd ever had. The first time I think my feature set had become fully realized. I feel it finally clicked. I was like, oh, okay, so this is like I finally constructed this in a way where I can bring them on this this journey or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. I feel like if I was that guy and I got lit 35 minutes before I was supposed to and replaced with a local,
Yeah.
I think I'd probably consider quitting comedy after that. I think that would be the final push to be like,
Yeah, maybe
you need to face reality, buddy.
Yeah.
It's not, comedy's not for everybody.
Yeah, dude. I mean, yeah, it was so. I mean, I felt bad for him, but at the same time, I was like, dude, you took the gig. Like, you know, like, you should have been ready, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And comedy, though, that's an unfortunate thing because that happens a lot. We take gigs that we're not ready for.
Yeah.
And
that was one of my bombing stories.
And sometimes they're the best learning experiences. Yeah. But, yeah, that's brutal. Yeah, well, this has been great. Where can people find you online? And
on Instagram at Geoff Eggs, Geoff Eggs. Or you can find me like on YouTube, my website, JeoffreyEggleston.com. I mean, I'm everywhere, dude. I've got a podcast too called Over Easy with Geoff Eggs, and that's on all platforms. So check it out.
Right on. Well, thanks for joining me,
dude. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
The Art of Bombing is a Blitz Entertainment production. Hosted and produced by Dan Bublitz Jr., The Art of Bombing intro music was written and performed by John Holt. All other music used in this podcast was under the Creative Commons license. If you would like to help The Art of Bombing, you can do so by subscribing, rating, and reviewing our show on whatever podcast application you use to listen to The Art of Bombing. For previous episodes, blogs, and more, visit artofbombingpod.com. Have a great week. And remember, stay safe so you can live to love.